History loves a good story, and when it comes to Cleopatra, it tells a great one. A seductive queen, a tragic lover, a woman whose beauty brought an empire to its knees. But what if I told you that story is a lie? A carefully crafted piece of propaganda, written by the very men she outsmarted. Today, we're going to unravel the myth and find the real Cleopatra, not the lover, but the leader. Let's get one thing straight. Cleopatra was never meant to be the ruler she became. She wasn't even technically Egyptian. She was the last of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a line of Greek rulers who inherited Egypt from Alexander the Great. But while her ancestors saw Egypt as a foreign prize to be plundered, Cleopatra saw it as home. She was born and raised in Alexandria, the bustling, brilliant heart of the ancient world. It was a city of scholars, scientists, and thinkers, and it shaped her into something her family never was, a true leader of her people. How she did something so simple, yet so radical, that none of her Ptolemaic predecessors had bothered with. She learned the language, not just one, 9 of them. She could speak Egyptian to her subjects, Greek to her philosophers, and Latin to her rivals. Imagine that. She could debate a Roman senator in his own tongue, then turn and rally her people in theirs. This wasn't just a party trick. It was a political masterstroke. It showed she respected her people, that she was one of them in spirit, if not by blood. Her education didn't stop at languages. This was a woman who devoured knowledge. She studied astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy. She understood agriculture and irrigation, personally overseeing reforms to ensure her people were fed. She was a naval strategist, an economist, and a diplomat. She wasn't just wearing the crown, she was working it every single day. She knew how trade routes functioned, how tax policies impacted her kingdom, and how to build and command a fleet. This was a CEO, a commander-in-chief, and a head of state, all rolled into one. So where did this idea of the irresistible seductress come from? It's lazy history, plain and simple, and it was written by her enemies. Roman historians like Plutarch and Cassius Dio couldn't stand the idea of a woman, an *Eastern woman, holding her own against the might of Rome. They couldn't outthink her, so they did the next best thing. They sexualized her. They reduced her brilliance to a pair of eyes rimmed in kohl, her strategic mind to a beautiful body. They made her a femme fatale because it was easier than admitting she was their intellectual equal, or even their superior. The truth is, Cleopatra's charm was a weapon, and she wielded it with precision. She understood the performance of power. She knew that in a world dominated by men, her femininity could be used to disarm them. She leaned into the expectation of beauty and allure. Let them underestimate her, and then, when their guard was down, she outmaneuvered them. She played their game, but she rewrote the rules. Think about her most famous moment, her arrival in Julius Caesar's palace. The story goes she was smuggled inside, rolled up in a carpet, and presented to him as a gift. It's always painted as this grand, romantic gesture. But it wasn't. It was an act of supreme audacity and political genius. Her brother had exiled her and was trying to seize the throne. She couldn't just walk back into the city. So she bypassed S-guards and political rivals and placed herself directly in front of the most powerful man in the world. It wasn't a seduction. It was a checkmate. She didn't come to him as a supplicant. She came as a queen demanding her throne, and she got it. Her reign was a masterclass in political survival. To secure her rule legally, she married her younger brother, as was Ptolemaic custom, but behind the scenes, she was the one pulling the strings. She saw threats everywhere, and she dealt with them ruthlessly. That included her own family. When her younger sister Arsinoe became a popular figure in Rome and a potential rival, Cleopatra had her executed. This wasn't the act of a romantic heroine. This was the cold, calculated move of a monarch protecting her crown. For 2 decades, she ruled a vulnerable kingdom, constantly walking a tightrope, balancing the needs of her people against the looming threat of Roman expansion. When her greatest ally, Julius Caesar, was assassinated, her world should have collapsed. The political foundation she had built vanished overnight. A lesser ruler would have retreated, sued for peace, or been swallowed by the chaos. But not Cleopatra. She didn't just survive, she pivoted. She identified the next major power player in Rome's civil war, Mark Antony. Now, their relationship is legendary, another cornerstone of her myth. And yes, by all accounts, they shared a deep and genuine affection. They had 3 children together and seemed to be partners in every sense of the word. But their alliance was born of ambition, just as much as romance. Together, they dreamed of a new world order, an Eastern empire, ruled from Alexandria, that could stand as Rome's equal, not its subject. They minted coins with both their faces on them, a declaration of their shared power. This was a direct challenge to Rome, and Rome wasn't about to let it stand. The inevitable conflict came. At the Battle of Actium, their combined forces were defeated by Octavian, Caesar's heir, and the future emperor Augustus. The dream of Gigit's dual empire was shattered. In the aftermath, with Octavian's armies closing in on Alexandria, Cleopatra faced a choice. She could allow herself to be captured, to be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains as the ultimate trophy of Octavian-esque Victoria, living symbol of Egypt-esque defeat. Or she could write her own ending. The story we all know is that she died by the bite of an asp, a venomous snake, clutched to her breast. It's dramatic, exotic, and very, very feminine. It's exactly the kind of death her Roman enemies would have wanted for her foolish. Emotional end for a woman supposedly undone by love, but it's almost certainly a myth. It served Roman propaganda perfectly. More likely and more in character for the pragmatic ruler she was, she took a fast tact in poison she had prepared. It was a cleaner, quicker, and more certain method. A strategist to the very end, ensuring she would never become a pawn in her enemy's triumph. History wants to remember Cleopatra as a tragic beauty, a woman defined by the powerful men she loved. But that's not her story. That's the story Rome told to diminish her. The real Cleopatra was one of the most intelligent, capable, and formidable rulers of the ancient world. She was a polymath, a strategist, a multilingual diplomat who held a fragile kingdom together in the shadow of the world's greatest superpower. Her true legacy isn't found in the arms of Caesar or Antony. It's in the way she redefined what it meant to rule. She proved that intelligence in a woman could be a weapon, that diplomacy could be a form of power, and that a single, determined mind could challenge an empire. They tried to reduce her to a caricature, but even 2,000 years later, the sheer force of her intellect and will shines through the propaganda. She wasn't just a queen. She was a phenomenon. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the real history behind the myth, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the past. Let me know in the comments who you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.